just a hack. He's just an absolute hack. And he gets his ass kicked by his teammates every week. It's just, it's terrible. It's just terrible.
We're back here on the Believe in FCS Football podcast. Joe DeLeone, Sean Anderson, two former college football players from the University of Rhode Island. We have the FCS football bracket out. We've already reacted to it, but we're going to talk about it even more today. We will be predicting how we think the bracket will play out. Our next episode in a two-parter, we're going to do a full round one preview. Not a lot of expectations for those teams to get out of that second round once they win this week. But nonetheless, so much to talk about. Sean, how are we doing today? You look tired.
I am chilling. People wonder why I have my headphones one on, one off, and why I put them over a hat or a sweatshirt hood. And it's strictly because my co-host doesn't know how to not scream into a microphone and blow my eardrums out. So after doing enough shows with him, I have decided to take matters into my own hands and have a course correction and say, you know what? I don't need to hear myself that much, but I need to make sure that I don't have this doofus screaming and rattling my brain up.
Well, I'm sorry that I'm the only one who has energy, so I have to bring double.
How do I not have energy?
Colin, please pull the screenshot of Sean very begrudgingly staring into the camera.
I am begrudgingly staring because I do not agree with this bracket that I'm looking at.
So I want to get to that, Sean, and I want to get to your thoughts on the bracket because we didn't get to hear from you on the instant bracket reaction.
Yes, the true voice of the FCS hasn't spoken yet.
Ha ha ha. Sean, before we get to that though, can you just share with our listeners a word from Bet Online?
Yeah, I'm the smartest in the room, deservedly so, because last night, Joe, during Sunday Night Football, were you watching the game? It's okay if you were not.
I was watching the game, and I live bet the Chiefs -3.5, and I was very upset that they only won by 3.
What time did you live bet them?
It was midway through the second quarter where it was plus odds for them to hit. And they were down. Sure, so it was the Chargers were about to score. So I was like, "Oh, I'm going to take this right now." You know, this line's going to work in my favor, and it did not.
Yeah, well, at Bet Online, I decided to place a wager with a minute 46 seconds left for Chiefs to win the game, because I was getting plus odds. I was getting plus 158, and why wouldn't I? Because Patrick Mahomes is going to go down and score a touchdown, because that's what he's going to do. And it was a smart play. I won some money. I had a very good game day. I've had game and day. I mixed it. That's what it was. I had a very good day of betting 2 days. I think I'm on a 5-0 hot streak. Just kind of rolling here, getting ready to not bet any goddamn soccer. Everyone, are you going out to watch the game at 2 today? No, I'm not.
Is that when the game is?
Yeah.
2?
I got stuff to do.
I didn't have a meeting. Although I think Braun canceled the meeting. Meeting that we have.
I'm not going to watch this game.
Yeah, but an excuse not to work is always. Well, actually, it's not an excuse. It's like a reason to. Never mind. Go ahead. Continue.
It's not even a reason.
Drink on Monday.
Head to betonline.ag and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, to receive your rewards. If you're a soccer fan and you like tying the scarf around your neck and you like chanting and you like yelling and singing stupid, lame songs, I sound a little familiar to college football, but still, if you're a big soccer fan, go ahead, place a wager down on the U.S. I believe they're playing Iran today. Bet online where the game starts.
All right, Sean, bracket time. And also, if you want to bet on the bracket, there's FCS lines on Bet Online. So if you want to go and bet on those games, you want to have some fun this weekend because your team didn't make the bracket, like our team didn't make the bracket, which is bullshit. But UNH did, and they haven't beaten anybody except you or I because of a false call at the end of the game. Then it'll make it a little more fun for you. Sean, your thoughts on the bracket, though. I want to get to some of your just takeaways.
Yeah, a little irritated to see a 4-4 Montana team make it. I don't have beef with Montana, but you're 4-4, and maybe another 4-4 team by the name of Delaware made the bracket.
Yeah,
And okay. So William Mary 7-1, New Hampshire 7-1, Richmond 6-2, Rhode Island 5-3. If we're letting 5 in from the CAA, hi, look at that 5 right there, 5-3 in conference. Oh, why don't we do that, but not put Rhode Island in there and put a 4-4 Delaware team in there?
It's a great question. I was
When I
was doing these notes, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, wait a minute, how did Delaware get in? Because I spent the whole reaction screaming about Montana and Montana State getting screwed with their placement.
I can't tell me why they should be 4.
Brand bias.
There shouldn't be a stronger brand in the FCS than Montana State right now. There isn't. South Dakota State, North Dakota State, congratulations. You had some good times. Right now, it's Montana State's time. They're running the ball hard. They just had game day there, and they won on game day, which is a big deal. They had a great environment. That's a strong brand. The strongest that we have right now, as much as it might sting you to admit it, that is a strong brand. And North Dakota State's been sleepy this year. I'm going to say it. They've been sleepy. They win their games. They do their thing, but they've been sleepy.
The stupidest thing, too, for a team that doesn't win their conference to be ranked ahead of a team that did win their conference. And again, recency bias is always a thing, but for some reason it doesn't factor into the fact that Montana State, again, whooped Montana. And that was where my frustration came from. There was a lot of apologizing and goalpost moving by some Montana people I saw on Twitter, which is really goddamn stupid. And the whole rationale of why they were picked doesn't even make any sense. Nonetheless, I can't stand the fact that Montana State got screwed and Montana got the benefit after Montana was embarrassed on a national stage.
Dude, I'm looking at this. I'm starting to get actually pissed off here. I'm looking at this Delaware team and their schedule. I think it's because they beat Navy earlier in the season. That has to be it, because they lost by 6 to William & Mary. Rhode Island lost by 1. They lost to Elon by 20 points. Rhode Island beat Elon, and then they just lost to Richmond, and they just lost to Villanova. They lost to Villanova in their last game, and they made the playoffs.
That's one of those things where
I'm irate about it. And
they're clearly riding off of that Navy win. That's all that is. They haven't beaten anybody else. It was purely off of the Navy win is why that they made the bracket. And they beat Rhode Island. So then I'm sure that they came to this debate like, well, should we put them in over Rhode Island even though they beat Rhode Island?
And I know the listeners going to be like, oh, look at this bias, the homer bias. My team got left out and you guys don't know anything about it. And, my team got screwed, this, and this. Fair. Do your own podcast then. Do your own podcast then, because I'm pissed. I'm going to be pissed about this. And if listeners are happy or upset about it, it doesn't matter. I'm not playing for the team anymore. I'm not trying to act like there's no bias anymore. I'm pissed that Rhode Island didn't make the playoffs after the season they had, after the talent that they have to actually win a playoff game and move on to the second round. They have a capable quarterback. They have a strong O-line and a defense that flies around. Go screw. How many other? This isn't some sleepwalking team in the NEC. This is some garbage Patriot League team or some. Okay, we got listeners all over the place, but you know your conferences. You know what conference you're in, and you know that it's not what it should be.
Well, the thing is, though,
jerk-offs. I'm ready to hear from them,
Sean. But the thing is, though, I don't think anyone's upset at that rationale, because everyone, I think, can sit here and agree the 4 teams that were screwed and that didn't get in, and Montana made it in over them, was Rhode Island, Chattanooga, Austin Peay, and Florida A&M. They're in the grouping. And it just depends if you want to argue who is the more deserving of that grouping. I think we would all agree that it's Rhode Island, you and I. I don't think our listeners might necessarily agree with that statement. But to the point, I don't think anyone here is upset at your decision to focus and hyper-focus on Rhode Island, because, I even did it when I did my reaction.
You could make a claim for Chattanooga and that they played some really tough teams. They played hard all year. You could make a claim about that. You could make a claim about Florida A&M rallying after a shaky-ass start and to go, what were they, 9-1 on the season? They had a good year after a start where they're fighting with their own administration to get eligibility for their own players based on malpractice within their own system. And they still rallied and had a good year. And I'm looking at some of these teams. A 4-4 team shouldn't ever be in the playoffs. It should ever. You should not have a 500 team unless they're an outright division winner, conference winner. It doesn't make sense. I understand the NFL. Sometimes you'll have a 7-9 team. You'll have the 2005 Seahawks. You'll have the Washington football team in 2020, whatever the hell, 2019, whatever year that was. I understand there's bad divisions. You let the division winner go in there. Other than that, with 24 teams, you don't have 24 teams that aren't above 500. Of course you do.
Well, the stupid rationale that was put out there, and some, I don't know, reporter or something, I don't know who the heck the guy was, but I saw that he was tweeting the descriptive rationale for the committee on why they put their argument was that
Sem? Was that it?
I think it might have been that guy, and I don't know who that guy is, and
I follow him. I think I'm not sure. Yeah,
I'm not gonna go check who it was or what he is. But apparently, part of the rationale was that Montana was considered to be more competitive than any of the bubble teams, which I completely disagree. They were embarrassingly bad against all of the good teams that they played. The Big Sky is a good conference, but it is not significantly far and above all the other conferences.
Oh, he's a Montana Grizz beat writer. So if you saw that from him, maybe there's a something getting pushed.
It is what it is. Sean, I want to talk about this bracket, though, in terms of predicting how we think it's going to shape out.
Sure.
The nonsense is what it is, but we now have to be predictive of that nonsense. So, Sean, I want to start with the quarterfinals. And folks, if you don't have the bracket in front of you, go find it. I'm not going to read the bracket for you. You can play along with your color in bracket and
hit up Jamie Williams. He'll send it to you.
Yeah, hit up Jamie. Everyone at Jamie Williams and ask him for the bracket. Or Colin.
He'll be our bracket surrogate. Him and Colin Sutrick will be our bracket surrogates.
Okay. All right. Quarterfinal. Fuck, I can't talk. Quarterfinals, Sean. We've got a lot of great matchups that are going to happen before leading up to this. How do you see that? I should probably wait. I need to pull up the bracket. Actually,
yeah. Are you gonna put it on the screen, or are you just gonna put it on your own?
I'm just gonna pull it up on my own.
Sure.
Should I pull it up on the screen?
I mean, would it help if we were both looking at it at the same? I wrote down what I wrote down, but if
I wrote down. I wrote it down. I wrote it down too, and I think it's useless for the audio listeners. So
sure.
You know what? Fine. We're gonna share screen. This is.
I'm just saying, if we both look at it, then we can
slapdick radio over here.
Oh, we love it. That's what we do.
Okay. All right. I have the bracket pulled up for this first region. Sean, who do you believe is going to compete in the quarterfinals for that South Dakota State region?
Yeah, South Dakota State region. I think it's going to be South Dakota State in the quarterfinals versus Fordham. I think Fordham takes down UNH.
Really?
They've been lucky as shit all year. They've been so lucky, and they've been skating by, and good for them for skating by. That's what you're supposed to do. You win games, you make the playoffs. Congratulations. Fordham versus South Dakota State. Fordham beats Holy Cross because it's Holy Cross. I think St. Francis beats Delaware, and then we move on. We have a good quarterfinal matchup between South Dakota State and Fordham.
I obviously agree on South Dakota State. They have very easy matchup for whoever they play between Delaware and St. Francis. But I disagree slightly because as lucky as UNH has been, I think that there is a slight minor talent gap between UNH and Fordham because UNH's defense stinks. It's terrible. And I also don't believe they have the athletes to block Josiah Silver and the remaining really talented defenders that they have on that front seven. So I'm taking UNH there, and I have a firm belief that UNH, if they're good enough to beat Fordham, they are certainly good enough to beat Holy Cross because the only difference between Holy Cross and Fordham was a couple points in overtime. So
yeah.
I'm going to lean with UNH in that one. So UNH versus South Dakota State. If we are moving down this bracket, Sean, on the other side in the Montana State region, I wish why aren't these regions named?
Should be labeled.
God, this is just so fucking lazy. It's so fucking lazy that there aren't
hard to call one north, one south, one east, one west. Don't care where it's located. Or 1, 2, 3, and 4. A, B, C, and D.
to have a little fun.
Just a little, just anything.
Sean, what do you think for this bottom region in the Montana? We're going to call it the Montana. It's not even technically a region, bracket, whatever the hell we're going to call it.
Yeah,
I'm going to call it a
the
region. Montana State region. Who do you think makes it?
It's going to be William & Mary versus Montana State. Eastern Kentucky, Gardner Webb is going to be oh, Jesus, Gardner Webb made it. Eastern Kentucky is going to beat Gardner Webb. William & Mary will beat Eastern Kentucky. Montana State will beat the winner of Weber State, North Dakota, and then it'll be William & Mary versus Montana State in a very fun game. That game is going to be so much fun, or it's going to be the most boring game of all time. So
like
I'm rooting
7-3.
Yeah, I'm rooting for the former. So let's get that one going. I'm ready for that game on December 3rd. Or no, it would be after that.
Yeah, is there a date written on there?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, though it would be after December 3rd.
That.
It's the following week.
I'm a goofball.
Sean, this one I agree with you completely, wholeheartedly. As much as I think Weber State could stun Montana State, I think Montana State has a ton of momentum and they're justifiably very pissed off. And if you're a pissed off, motivated football team and you think that the world is against you, that is enough momentum after dominating your biggest rival, again, on a national setting with College Game Day there. They've got a lot of juice right now. They've got everything working in their favor. And I know as fun as William & Mary is and as good as they've been in the CAA, that is going to be a buzzsaw that you're running into, a pissed off Montana State team. So that is going to be my likely matchup there. I don't think William & Mary has much of a test in that first part of the games.
Obviously, that South Dakota State region is the easiest given the 1 seed. This Montana State region is no cakewalk because you might have to play Weber State again. That was close. Then you have to play William & Mary, probably the best team in the CAA this year. That Sac State region is no joke though because they would likely have to play Incarnate Word. I just don't understand why they're not 3. That North Dakota State region, but easy. I mean, real easy.
Yes,
for not
go ahead,
easy, but for the playoffs in the scale up. For the playoff competition, that's what I mean. Easier rather. But Montana State being 4 is an atrocity.
Out of any of the regions, it is the easiest. I think we can all sit here and agree that this is the easiest in terms of general competition. Is the easiest portion of the bracket
for who?
The North Dakota State one.
Yeah, that one's
If you had to pick who you think is going to come out of this one and play in the quarterfinal, who do you think it's going to be?
Of the North Dakota State one?
Yes.
It'll be North Dakota State because they'll either have to play SEMO, who I believe, correct me if I'm wrong,
got on
a coin flip.
A fucking coin flip.
The sickos, man. They cover everything. I'm thankful for the sickos committee.
Wait, did you see the coin flip? What they did it in like a break room and with the grainiest camera footage with 2G.
It could have been heads or it could have been tails. I couldn't tell.
Where was the creativity? You got one social media kid or something that you could have said like, hey, we're going to do the flip and we're going to send you the video. Can you just throw a couple overlays on this? Maybe some funny music. Like everyone's laughing at us. We might as well play into the joke. And I was actually debating cutting it and making something funny, but the footage was so fucking bad. I was like, I'm not touching this.
The recording looked like it was on the first Samsung Galaxy Note ever, which had that's what it looked like. All right. Now the Galaxy Note 2 and everything else past that, it was in maybe an iPhone 3 was recording that video. Obviously, production value. Sean over here doesn't have a lot to speak about, but North Dakota State is going to beat Montana and or SEMO, and then they're going to face Samford, who has to either play Idaho. Sneaky, not bad Idaho team.
That's what I've been saying.
Really could be, if we're looking at not a Cinderella story, but Idaho versus Samford could be closer than, I don't know, we all expect. They're going to beat Sela, and then it'll be Samford versus North Dakota State in the quarters.
Yeah. First of all, don't give a shit who wins Montana SEMO. Literally,
I don't care either.
Give less of a shit. And I'm going to say this in the first round prediction show that we're going to do after this taping. It's going to be released around the same time. Again, literally don't care who wins this football game. If neither team shows up or even plays the football game, I could care less. It means nothing for me for the outcome of the entirety of the bracket. The least justified teams to make it, not because SEMO deserved it because they were good, but the fact that they won in the fashion that they did is kind of embarrassing.
Mhm.
Nonetheless, I agree with you on Idaho being a little bit of a sleeper. I love Coach Eck and the way that he's turned around this program, and they got that big win against Montana. And as good as Samford has been this year, I am always going to put a lot more value in these Big Sky teams. So I actually think this is going to be an upset here. I think that is going to be like our one unseeded team to make it to the quarterfinals is going to be Idaho if it is going to be one.
Well, I had Fordham going into or never
Yes.
mind. But regardless, Samford though. Every time we have said anything about them, they've proved us wrong. So it's very tough to pick against them for me, just from that rationale.
All right, Sean, last region here before we move on to our semifinal prediction. How do you think the Sac State region will shape up?
Yeah, Sac State is going to have a challenge with Richmond after they beat Davidson. Never mind. I gotta get past. I just gotta grow up and get past it.
We
I
will
promise
talk about it on the preview show, the prediction show.
I promise I'll get past it. But Richmond versus Sac State beats them, and then Incarnate Word versus Elon or Furman. Incarnate Word could fall to either of those, but I don't think they do. So it'll be Sac State versus Incarnate Word in the quarters, and that'll be an awesome time for the Incarnate Word fans to pop back up in the mentions and say, "Ha, look at us, we're ranked 7. You said we wouldn't be a top 25 team this year, Sean. You were wrong. I was."
I mean, I'm bought into the Incarnate Word hype train and the Lindsey Scott hype train. They've been so fun to watch this entire season. So, I think that they're going to go on a little bit of a run here. They're going to play up against Sacremento State in the quarterfinal. Again, this is another one of those regions that's on the easier side. I think Furman's honestly a little overhyped. If we're just being, I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. The SoCon is okay. It's an okay conference. I mean, good for them that they made it, but they're not beating Incarnate Word. They're just not.
Sure, they're not.
All right, let's move on to talking about the semifinal, Sean. I'm going to close this tab because it's just going to be a bunch of blank spaces while we're talking. Sean, for the semifinal, how do you foresee your matchups that you anticipated shaping up? Who do you think is going to be playing in the semifinal?
God, I wish there was just like they should do it like a March Madness where you could just pick your guy and move it and see it. But semifinals,
you got to do it handwritten the old-fashioned way, like it's the 1960s.
I know. I'm going with South Dakota State versus Montana State in the semis. That's going to be an insane game. I mean, must-see TV in that. South Dakota State beats Fordham, and I believe that Montana State will edge out William & Mary in that one. But it's going to – I mean – this is what we get within the FCS, man. Eventually, the best teams are going to make it down to the. What are you giggling at?
Well, I didn't even realize that we picked literally the same exact semifinal. You're making a really good point. Go ahead, continue your point. My giggling completely cut you off.
Well, yeah, no, we're going to end up seeing the best teams. That's what we're going to see because the FCS does not play around. The cream of the crop always rises to the top. It just always rises. You don't. If it was Sam Houston was rising to the top. That's how it was. You're not stopping them that year. You're not stopping North Dakota State when they're on their tear. All right. So when it starts rising, this is who you're going to see in the semis, and it's always going to be like that. It's so tough to beat these top teams in the FCS if you're a Cinderella hopeful or something like that. It's not college basketball. You're not going to get some Lehigh team doing what this and that. You're not going to get a crazy ass VCU Final Four run. It's college football. All right. This is where the boys become men. This is when the men stand out and they'd say, all right, we drop your nuts. This is the time.
I believe that there could be an upset and there's probably going to be one that makes it to the semifinal, but
sure.
If we are realistically predicting based on what we've seen this season, I think the most likely outcome is what we're talking about here, which is we're both predicting South Dakota State versus Montana State, North Dakota State versus Sac State. These are the 4 best teams in the country right now. Maybe if anyone gets knocked off, it's going to be Montana State because of the bloodbath of a region that they have to compete in. But the rest are very, very likely to come out as the victors in their grouping.
Yeah, the chalk is boring, but I mean, really, if I was going to pick the upsets to make it there, just based on the rankings, Incarnate Word could be there, William & Mary could be there. If I'm going to say these are the 2 teams that I think that could slip in, those are the 2. and that's 5 rank and 7 rank. So I'm still not even getting outside the top 10 pick. But I understand the chalk is not entertaining. You want someone up here yelling about Furman make the long haul run to the finals. I get it. All right, it would all be fun. We would love to do that radio. Right now, realistically, that's what I predict being in the semis.
So after that, you and I have a complete divergence on opinion. So I believe, Sean, in the finals, we are going to have a South Dakota State versus Sacremento State. Again, not very fun. That's not very entertaining. Oh, wow, you predicted 1 versus 2. Yeah, fucking sue me. They're the 2 best teams in the country right now. Some might have argued that Sacramento State should have been the number 1 seeding in the country because they got an FBS win. They won their conference. They won a lot of close games. They deserve to be where they are. And they're one of the most well-rounded teams. And I think, again, a sleepy North Dakota State team, as you described them, has underwhelmed at times in some of their bigger games. And they've won out. They've won out since that South Dakota State loss and the Arizona loss. But in the games where they've kind of shown up a little flat, there's been issues. So if they show up a little flat against Sacramento State, they're not winning that football game. Sacramento State's been fantastic this season. They face off with South Dakota State. I don't know why that always trips me up saying Sacramento, South Dakota State. Too many S's. Sean, your thoughts on who's going to play in the final?
I think it's going to be Montana State versus Sacramento State. I think that I have Sacramento State beating North Dakota State and Montana State upsetting South Dakota State. I just do. I think that they are flying right now. They are white hot. This Montana State team is. They have too much momentum. They have too much confidence. And I know the boys are going to be upset by this. Be happy you made the finals, or be happy you made the semi, whatever the hell it is. All right, it's been a good year. I think Montana State is the team to beat right now. That you just can't stop them on offense, and their defense is suffocating. So I have that as the championship, and I have Montana State winning it all.
So I disagree. I think that the most talented team in the country this year, far and away, NFL talent, best coached, South Dakota State, and this is going to be the year that they finally get it done. They're going to get the job done, assuming that there isn't some horrible, debilitating injury that just really derails them, which is like the only thing that I see is derailing them. They are a hot team, and they deserve every amount of recognition that they have gotten to this point. And if they play a Sacramento State, they're the more talented roster. Again, the most NFL guys on any roster in the country is South Dakota State. It is rare to see a team this talented, and they are, again, without a doubt, going to win the national championship in my eyes.
Okay, I mean, that's your pick. That's your pick. What do you want to put on it?
I don't know. What do you want to put on it?
What do you want to put on it? I asked you what you want to put on it.
And I'm not good at doing bets.
Doing bets.
Yeah, I'm not making bets.
You're not good at speaking words either. Whatever. You have to show up.
All right.
God.
At Joe DeLeone, at Sanderson Radio. We're going to be doing a full first round prediction coming up soon. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. You don't miss out. Turn on that notification bell. We are going to be yelling and clamoring about the bracket for the remainder of the FCS football playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm going to go have a stroke now. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And don't get too upset over the games because you will surely be disappointed. Drive safe, everybody.